What's going on, everybody? Okay, so before we get into this, I promise my best and worst of the year videos will be coming out very soon. It's just I had to see one certain movie beforehand that I just saw the other day, so I promise those will be coming out very soon. And while I'm okay with getting those videos out a little bit later, this not as much, because this would be a really weird video to release at like the beginning of February when a month has already gone by, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm anticipating this movie or that movie, and it's like, oh wait, there was this one that came out back in January that I was really anticipating that I wanted to mention, but it's like, it's already out, maybe I already reviewed it, I don't know. So today, we're gonna count down my top 15 most anticipated movies of 2025. Why top 15 and not top 20 or top 10? Well, I originally only wanted to do top 10, but then there was like 5 other movies that I really wanted on my list, so I'm all like, yeah, let's do top 15. And I just really didn't want to do top 20. And just to let you guys know right off the bat, there's a very likely chance that some of these movies might get delayed or not released the date that they were originally planned, so keep that in mind. If I mention a movie on this list, doesn't fully mean that's coming out this year, it's just slated to come out this year as of right now. And if you're wondering if there's going to be an honorable mention slot, no, because what I'm going to do instead is at the end of this video is mention a bunch of other movies that are coming out soon that I just want to mention or just bring up. I mean, there's no honorable mentions, no dishonorable mentions. They're more just mentions. But anyway, guys, let's get started. So to start off this list is a movie that neither has a title or a plot yet. Oh joy, we're off to a great start. But what this is called as of right now is Untitled Trey Parker, Matt Stone, Kendrick Lamar Musical. And the reason this is lower on the list is because at the time of recording this, we know very little about this movie. The most I know is that it's a musical about race. But just the fact that it's from Trey Parker and Matt Stone already got me hyped because I love damn near everything they've made. I mean, it's not like I made a nearly 50-minute review on South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut for its 25th anniversary last summer that I poured a lot of heart, soul, and time into that eventually got taken down by Warner Brothers due to copyright. And it's also not like it was up for 3 days with no problems at all. God, I love YouTube's bullshit copyright system. Coming in at number 14, we have Shelby Oaks. And while I'm glad to have a small independent horror film on this list, you all know the main reason I'm looking forward to this one, and that of course is the director, Chris Stuckman. I'm assuming if you're watching my channel, you're familiar with his work as a YouTube film critic, and he's actually one of my biggest inspirations for why I wanted to start talking movies on YouTube. But I know he's got such a loving passion for film as much as I do, so I'm very excited to see what he can bring to the table as a director. And I know the movie's gotten some mixed buzz coming out of film festivals, but that's got me even more excited. As I say, always have your own opinion. The next movie on this list is one that I'm kind of mixed on if I'm like really excited for it or not, and that's Zootopia 2. So while Zootopia is arguably one of my favorite Disney movies, and I'm legit excited to return to this world, the only reason I'm skeptical is because Disney does not have the best track record when it comes to sequels. I mean, you all know what I think about Frozen 2 and what we're supposed to be calling Moana 2, so yeah, I have my reasons. But also at this time, I don't know what the movie is about, so that's another reason that's so low on the list. Unlike my number 12, which actually has a trailer. So I'm gonna play the trailer.
But eventually, you come to realize that there are bad guys, and there are worse guys.
So while I know a lot of you might have this much higher on your list, I put it only at number 12 because when it comes to the MCU post-Endgame, there's been a few hits and a lot of misses.
It's just been miss after miss after miss.
And while I think Deadpool and Wolverine was definitely a step in the right direction, that easily could have been a one-off, especially since we're going from that to Brave New World, which from all the hell it's gone through in production, could easily be a misfire. But as for Thunderbolts, it looks like it'd be a lot of fun, kind of being Marvel's The Suicide Squad, but with side characters instead of villains. Coming in at number 11 is a movie that you may or may not even have known is coming out, but you should definitely support.
Daffy?
Oh no, not the duck!
Man.
The duck?
That's right, the duck.
You gotta be kidding me. Who greenlit this garbage?
This is The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, and okay, so while the trailer didn't do much for me, I'm just so glad to not only see a fully animated Looney Tunes movie on the big screen, but a fully hand-drawn animated movie on the big screen. Plus, it's one of those Warner Brothers films that was shelved alongside Coyote vs. Acme, and since it's actually getting released now, you kinda have to support it because of that, and I actually got some high hopes for it, just because it is a family film with some familiar characters. They've also premiered at some places, and it's gotten really good word of mouth, so just another reason to get excited. But the downside is that after that recent animated Lord of the Rings movie, I feel like Warner Brothers is not going to do anything with this movie advertisement-wise. Also, speaking of that Lord of the Rings movie, very underrated. I enjoyed that a lot more than I ever expected to. So So now we're in the top 10, and to start it off is a sequel to a movie that I really enjoyed, but I didn't know that I really wanted a sequel to.
You need a job, and I need some extra hands. Professionals.
Maybe you don't keep up with the news, but we're good now.
I'm not exactly asking.
So while I really enjoyed 2022's The Bad Guys, and I'm very okay with a sequel, I don't think this movie would have been on this list without that trailer. And the reason I say that is because the trailer was legit really damn funny. Honestly, can't think of the last time I laughed that hard at any trailer.
Is she your hostage?
No, she's my girlfriend.
Why is she in his mouth?
And while the first one didn't have the most original concept, it did make me feel really nostalgic for movies I loved as a kid about bad guys going good, like Megamind, Wreck-It Ralph, and the first Despicable Me. But alongside that, I really enjoy these characters, and if DreamWorks really has to pick another one of their movies to make a franchise, I'm glad it's this. Now let me just say for my number 9 that my girl is back! We got Megan 2.0, and the reason this has even cracked my top 10 is because of first review bias. If you're not aware, the first Megan is the first review I ever did on this channel, but if I was to tell you that was one of the first videos ever released on the platform, you'd believe me.
What the hell? That's not supposed to happen. It's January and I'm seeing a great PG-13 horror film.
Oh, how I've come so far. And yes, if you're curious, I do miss reviewing movies in a movie theater. That was awesome. But despite first review bias, I did have a great time with the first Megan, and I'm very excited to see what they do with the sequel, especially since Megan has become one of the newest horror icons next to Art the Clown. Also, I do gotta applaud the first movie for being the first film released that year, and it turning out as good as it did. You never see that a lot with January horror, especially the first one released that year. So my number 8 is a movie that I don't think the general public is that excited about, but the anime community definitely is, and it's this.
Am I doing the right thing?
Do you need to confess?
The truth is, I started a band!
This is The Colors Within, and while I'm always excited to check out an original anime movie, or any smaller animated movie for that matter, the main reason I'm excited for this one is that it comes from the same director as one of my all-time favorite anime films, A Silent Voice. I always say that even if you're not a fan of anime or just haven't given it a shot, you really need to check that movie out at least once. Maybe I'll review it before the release of The Colors Within, I don't know. But as for Colors Within, this seems like another home run in the making, and it's got good word of mouth from people who've already gotten to see it, so I'm very hyped. It's also about a band and them making music, and most of the animes I've seen that have to do with music have turned out great. So as for my number 7, some of you will understand, some of you won't.
Your aunt seems to have set off into the dangerous jungle.
Aunt Lucy would never give up on me. We have to find her.
But the Amazon is quite... large.
So I know what some of you might be thinking. Some of you are just like, oh, Paddington in Peru. Okay, I very much understand why you're excited for that one. And others are just like, how the hell are you more excited for Paddington in fucking Peru over something like Thunderbolts? And if you're in that last category, I say unto you, did you see this little masterpiece? While something like Thunderbolts can go one way or another, I have no doubt that this third installment in the now beloved family franchise is gonna be another home run. Now, I don't believe that you can get any better than Paddington 2, but I still believe that this is gonna be another great wholesome film that everyone is just gonna fall in love with, and I'm so excited to see the sweet little bear once again. I also gotta mention this, it comes out the same weekend as Captain America Brave New World, and I would just love it if Paddington could kick that movie's ass, because, actually it might, because do you know anyone who's excited for that? So for my number 6, it's a movie that, at the time recording this, is already out and I could go watch immediately, so that's kind of why I have it so high up on the list.
Good grief, it's you! Again! It's vengeance most foul!
I'm not gonna lie, I almost didn't put this movie on the list, and that's mostly because I wasn't thinking about streaming movies while making this list. I'm telling you guys, if it goes to theaters, I'm more than likely gonna remember that it's coming out, but if it goes straight to streaming, it really depends on what it is. But it just so happens that one of my favorite movies as a kid was The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and I do love all the short films as well, despite only seeing them once on Cartoon Network. I also like that this is actually a sequel to one of their short films, The Wrong Trousers. But the main reason I'm very excited for Vengeance Most Foul is to see this iconic stop motion duo once again after all these years, and I'm already going to be watching it shortly after this video comes out. Number 5 is an obvious pick, and that's Avatar Fire and Ash. So while I enjoyed the first two Avatar movies, they're definitely better as theatrical experiences than anything else. Despite owning the first two on 4K Blu-ray, I never have that much of a desire to rewatch them unless it's on like an at-home theater screen or if it's ever re-released in like IMAX or RPX 3D. I have a RPX theater around here, there's no IMAX, sadly. But that's the main reason I am hyped, is the theatrical experience and the technology that James Cameron is always improving on. I'm also just hoping this time around that there's actually a great story and some memorable characters. Be honest, the only reason you remember Jake Sully is because of his name. It's an action movie name. For number 4, it's another obvious choice.
That's the pattern, isn't it? You refuse to sacrifice the ones you hold close.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Ever since Ghost Protocol, this really has stayed one of, if not the most consistent action movie franchise, and every entry just gets better and better. Actually, let me rephrase that. It gets better and better, and crazier and crazier. Every time one of these releases, I'm just so excited to see what crazy stunt Tom Cruise tries to pull off next that will nearly get him killed. Also, this is part 2 of the last film, Dead Reckoning, and while I really remember more of the action scenes than any of the story beats from that movie, I mean, it's Mission Impossible. Who remembers the story for Mission Impossible? Well, it's Mission Impossible. I'm gonna watch it either other way. Well, now we made it to the top 3. And while we all knew that the first one was gonna be a huge hit, I'm pretty positive that its sequel is gonna be even more popular. While I'm not at all shocked that musical fans and fans of Wicked the Stage Play love Part 1, I'm actually shocked how many people outside of that demographic enjoyed the hell out of this movie. And yeah, slight spoilers for my best of the year list, but this really was one of my favorite movies of the year, and I've already seen it 3 times. I will also give the film credit that it's one of the few movies that shows damn near everything in the trailers, and it wasn't ruined for me. But with how the first film ended, it got me so freaking excited for part 2 just to see how the story wraps up. Because, I don't know about the rest of you, but I didn't see Elphaba become fully wicked yet, so I'm just guessing that they dive much deeper into that in the second half. But unlike something like Beyond the Spider-Verse or my previous mention, Mission Impossible 8, people actually know how Wicked ends. So that means like half of us had to go a year without spoilers. Yay! Well, let's be honest, coming into this video, you knew this movie was on this list. Let's be honest, is there anyone who is not anticipating this movie? It's goddamn Superman, for Christ's sakes! This film is so hyped that not only did it have one of the most anticipated trailers, not only was it just a phenomenal trailer as a whole, but that thing broke records. And while I've always been more of a Batman fan myself, I've always freaking loved Superman as well, and I'm just so excited to see where director James Gunn takes this movie and how it will officially start off the DCU. And that's really all I gotta say. I seriously do not see how this movie can fail. Prove me wrong. But I know what each and every one of you are thinking. What the hell are you anticipating more than freaking Superman? Goddamn Superman, the Man of Steel. Like, what movie are you anticipating more than that? This.
You think you've driven me into a corner with your little plan? But you are all about to be going straight to hell! Mark my words, Demon Slayers. I'll massacre every one of you before sunrise!
How? How are you anticipating this more than freaking Superman? Let me explain. While making this list, I really had to sit down and think, what movie in 2025 can I not miss the opening night of? What movie do I not want a single spoiler to? And what movie is going to be the biggest event film of the year in my opinion? And yes, while the last statement is definitely Superman, in the anime community, it's without a doubt Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. And if you don't understand where I'm coming from, without getting into spoilers, let's just say that the last season of Demon Slayer was definitely the weakest season. For about 75% of it. While it has a great action sequence in the opening of the first episode, everything after that really is just set up for what's coming next, and it's Tanjiro going from one Hashira to another. But then we get to the final episode of the season, and all hell just breaks fucking loose. And I was actually talking to someone about this at one point, who by the way has read the manga, and I told him like, yeah, I enjoyed Hashira training fine, but it was mainly that last episode that saved its ass. And that led him to tell me that Hashira training was just the calm before the freaking storm. So, I'm not gonna lie, as of right now, I'm kind of looking at this as the Infinity War and Endgame of not just Demon Slayer, but anime in general. If you don't remember, Demon Slayer Mugen Train was the highest grossing movie of all time over in Japan and also broke a lot of records over here, so I ain't got the slightest clue what this one's gonna do. And the best thing about this is that it's not just one movie, it's a goddamn trilogy! Box office beware, especially over in Japan. And as someone who isn't even gonna touch the manga at this point, I seriously don't know what's gonna happen, what's all about to go down, and I'm way too freaking pumped to where I cannot think of any other movie that I'm anticipating more in 2025. But seriously, when is this thing being released? It's only slated for a 2025 release as of right now. I need an actual freaking release date. But as I said at the beginning of this video, that was only my top 15 most anticipated. What about some other movies coming out this year? Is there anything else I'm looking forward to? Anything that I'm really not looking forward to? Or do I have any interest at all in watching any other movies this year? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Well, let's find out by starting off with Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. While I like Gerard Butler and are willing to see anything that he's in, I never did see the first Den of Thieves, and I really don't know what anyone else thought of it, so I don't have much of an opinion on how this one's gonna turn out. Better Man. This actually was my top 15 until I remembered Wallace and Gromit, but as someone who knows nothing about British singer Robbie Williams, this actually looks like a great new take on the musical biopic, and it's a musical from the director of The Greatest Showman, so I'm down. Wolfman. I've only seen the teaser trailer for this one, and I'm gonna keep it that way, but I am excited to see what the director of 2020's The Invisible Man does for another iconic movie monster. Flight Risk. This was originally slated for an October 2024 release, but got delayed to January, and despite what you think about Mel Gibson, he has made some great movies as a director, so I'm willing to give this one a shot. Dogman. I surprisingly really enjoyed the Captain Underpants movie from 2017, and the book series that this film is based on is from the same writer, so I'm interested in checking it out, and hopefully it's a nice surprise. But I am also pretty positive that this is going to be the darkest movie of 2025 because, what the fuck?
What if we sew the dog's head onto the man's body? Great idea!
Clearly they were injured, but obviously neither of them were dead, so I'm pretty positive that counts as surgery without consent, but also just straight up murder. Of whom? I honestly don't know, but it's murder in some way or another. Love Hurts. This is a new action film starring Ke-Huy Quan as the lead, and that's all I gotta say because I'm just excited to see this man getting the respect and attention that he deserves after all these years. If he's in it now, I'm probably gonna watch it. You go and kick some ass, short round. Captain America Brave New World. While I'm willing to give this movie a shot, I know little to no one who is excited for it, and with all the reshoots and delays, I think this movie is dead on arrival. The Monkey. Spoilers for my best of the year list, but one of my favorite films was Longlegs, so I'm very excited to see what writer and director Osgood Perkins can do with this adaptation of a Stephen King short story, and hopefully it's better than The Boogeyman. But I'm mostly just hoping that the theater I work at gets the poster for this movie because it says fucked on it. The Unbreakable Boy. Oh God. Look, this movie seems to have its heart in the right place, and I can totally be wrong, but guys, we've seen a story like this done wrong so many times before, and I can very much see this going down the same lane as Music, The Other Sister, I Am Sam, or Riding the Bus with My Sister, but I'm hoping that the movie proves me wrong. Mickey 17. This is the newest film from Parasite director Bong Joon-ho, and despite being delayed constantly, I really like the trailer for this one, and I have so much faith that it will turn out great. Novocaine. While I like this idea of a man who can't feel pain, I'm a fan of The Boys TV series, and all I can think is that this is Huey Campbell on 10 feet, but it still looks like a really fun time. Snow White. No. Just no. Everything about this movie looks awful, and that's not me talking as some angry asshole who hates everything Disney releases. I'm talking as someone who thinks almost every element to this movie looks like a huge dumpster fire. The actors have ruined any chance this movie has. Half of it still looks animated, which defeats the purpose of it being live action, and above all else, what the everlasting fuck are these unholy abominations? But the one thing that pisses me off the most is that we are remaking the first ever full-length animated film. There's no fucking point! This thing is going to bomb! It looks awful! I'm not looking forward to this. A Minecraft movie. So I know most of you are just waiting to watch this movie fail, and it's been memed to death. I'm willing to give it a little bit of a shot, and I don't want to fully judge it until I see the final product. But that's also coming from someone who's never really played Minecraft. By the way, do you guys know this is from the director of Napoleon Dynamite? Weird. Drop. I don't know much about this movie, but it's from the director of Happy Death Day and Freaky, so that's already got me excited. Sinners. So while I have seen the trailer, I can't really tell you what this movie is about, but it was such a great trailer, and it is Ryan Coogler, so I'm excited. Lilo and Stitch. While I can't stand the Disney remakes, I really do like the design of Stitch, but I would need to see a full trailer before I get any opinion on what I think about it. And while Stitch's design is great, I'm just afraid what Jumbo and Pleagley are gonna look like. Karate Kid Legends. So I've only seen the first Karate Kid movie once, and while I do love it, I never saw any of the sequels, the remake, or Cobra Kai, so I don't have much of a connection to it as much as some of you do, but I'm down for another movie, I guess. Ballerina. I love the 4 John Wick films and I love how they ended, but I'm legit excited to return to this world and see how this works without John Wick as the main lead. Also, I feel like the only reason he was in the trailer is because there's no way in hell you could sell this movie without him. How to Train Your Dragon. While I know a lot of you are very excited to return to the world of Burke in live action, I think you need to take those nostalgia goggles off for a minute because the trailer we got is literally shot for shot, line for line, and Toothless looks like he is ripped straight out of the animated movie with no change at all. Also, Disney has botched this up so many freaking times. What makes you think DreamWorks is gonna do any better? And I'm so freaking afraid that this movie does really damn good, which it probably will. That means we're gonna get live action Shrek, live action Kung Fu Panda, live action Monsters vs. Aliens, all the other DreamWorks movies in live action. But I will admit, Gerard Butler returning as live action Stoke the Vast, that is a legit really good choice. Elio. This was originally slated for an early 2024 release, but then got delayed due to the strike. And while it looks like a cute concept, and I'm always down for a new Pixar movie, it's one that could go either other way. 28 years later. I've never seen the 2 previous films in this franchise, but I'll admit that this newest one has an amazing trailer that legit freaked me out a little bit, so I'm looking forward to checking out this film and the 2 before it. F1. This is the newest film from the director of Top Gun Maverick, and it seems like he's applying what he did with Jets in that movie here in this movie about car racing. I just said it's from the director of one of the greatest sequels ever made. Do I need to say anything else? Happy Gilmore 2. While Happy Gilmore is arguably my favorite Adam Sandler movie, this being both a streaming movie and a Happy Madison production means that I could go either other way. But they did really surprise me with Leo and that one about the bat mitzvah, so I really do have hopes. Also, Christopher McDonald is back as Shooter McGavin. The movie wouldn't have been complete without him. Jurassic World Rebirth. I know a lot of you have this in your top 10 most anticipated, but I'm sorry. I really didn't enjoy the first 3 Jurassic World films, especially the last 2, and while this is taking a different approach and has new characters, I'm not falling for it until I see this movie. Actually, I used to love the first Jurassic World movie, but then I rewatched it before Dominion came out, and it really did not hold up for me personally. The Smurfs movie. All I know about this one is that it's a fully animated Smurfs movie and it's supposedly a musical. I'll be honest, I really don't have much of an opinion on this one, but I'll take it any day over those 2 live action films. By the way, the guy who keeps asking me to do some kind of video on the first live action Smurfs movie, I'll get to it some point later in the future. I really don't know. I just have to feel passionate about doing it. The Fantastic Four First Steps. Yet another one I know a lot of you are hyped for, and while I am too, it's one I need to see a trailer on first to fully know what we're getting. The Naked Gun. Liam Neeson has taken over Leslie Nielsen's iconic role, and I'm just hoping that this movie is very well written and legit funny like the original, that this is the movie to put Liam Neeson back on top after a lot of stinkers. Nobody 2. I really enjoyed 2021's Nobody starring Bob Odenkirk, and while I haven't seen it since theaters, I'm down for a sequel even if I find it kind of pointless. The Conjuring Last Rites. While I have almost a different opinion on every movie in the Conjuring universe, I love the first 2 films a lot and are one of the few people who enjoyed The Devil Made Me Do It, so I'm very much looking forward to another movie about the Warren couple. Saw 11. I've always really enjoyed these movies, but Saw X really blew everyone out of the water, including myself, so I'm hoping that they apply everything that worked about that movie to this newest one. Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie. The only reason I'm mentioning this one is because, unless it's a legit DreamWorks movie and not a movie inspired by the TV show like that Spirit movie from a couple years ago, I'm just gonna assume this is one you guys will want me to review like Ryan's World. And just like Ryan's World, well, at the time, I know very little about this freaking show, except that it might turn your kids into future furries? That's just a guess. Michael. I've always been a huge fan of Michael Jackson and his music, but if this movie truly wants to be something great, it'll hopefully take inspiration from musical biopics such as Elvis or Rocket Man, but I'm honestly more curious if it'll tackle the more controversial aspects of his life and career. The Black Phone 2. Out of every sequel I mentioned in this video, this is the one I'm the most curious on how they're going to tackle it, because the first one already wrapped everything up, but I'm more hoping that this makes the Grabber a new horror icon alongside Megan and Art the Clown. Mortal Kombat 2. I guess I'm in a small minority of people who had a lot of fun with 2021's R-rated Mortal Kombat film, so I'm legit excited for another one, especially if they're bringing in Johnny Cage like they promised at the end of the first film. Predator Badlands. I know nothing about this movie, but I love the first Predator film, obviously, and that's about it. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of Prey. I saw The Predator, and it was pretty terrible. Didn't see two or Predators. But, hey, new Predator movie, so I'm gonna see it. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. While I wasn't the biggest fan of the first FNAF film, I'm always down to see how a sequel to a bad movie can improve on the first. I also didn't realize how many people despise that first film, calling it one of the worst movies of the decade so far. May I introduce some of you to Ryan's World Movie Time Universe Adventure? The SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants. Well, new SpongeBob movie. I love SpongeBob, so of course I'm gonna go see it, but I'm just wondering, why didn't they release this in 2024 during the 25th anniversary of SpongeBob instead of you? I don't like you. Wildwood. Ha. Wildwood. No, I think about it, that does sound kind of like a porno title. But all jokes aside, this is the newest film from Laika, who made Coraline and Paranorman. While I don't know much about it at this time, I'm always going to support this company when they release a new film. Wake Up Dead Man and Knives Out Mystery. I absolutely love the previous two entries from director Rian Johnson, and I love Daniel Craig as the character of Detective Blanc, so I'm of course pumped for another one of these whodunits. The only thing I ask is that if this movie gets a small theatrical release like Glass Onion did, make that release longer and more widespread. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I mean, this one kind of speaks for itself. It's Guillermo del Toro doing his take on Frankenstein. I freaking adored his stop motion take on Pinocchio, which was kind of a Frankenstein story in some areas, so I'm looking forward to this for obvious reasons. Alright, fuck, Jesus Christ. I'm pretty positive that's every movie I just wanted to mention that's coming out this year. So, I have an obvious question, guys. What are your most anticipated movies for the year? Let me know down in the comments below, and actually, let me rephrase that. What is your most anticipated movie aside from Superman? Because everyone's anticipating Superman. Everyone's gonna go see Superman. You're going to see Superman, and it's Superman. So, yeah. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, turn the notification bell, and while you're at it, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Trev's Movies, and I'll be back later with movie reviews. And I'll see you then. I'm serious, guys. This video took forever. It's like 2 hours of footage.